Tonight, a home destroyed in an explosion. One man is dead and 3 others injured as a blast rips through a block of flats in Alo.
Looked out and I seen this, the house, the flames. The place just was up like a inferno.
Investigators are still at the scene. We're live with the latest. Also making the headlines, more than 1 million Scots are living in poverty. Campaigners are blaming the benefit system, saying it's failing the most vulnerable in society.
The story of Scotland's first underwater sniffer dog, awarded the canine equivalent of an OBE.
And in sport, has Celtic grind out a victory over Ross County? Their match winner says they showed great character. I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Work is continuing tonight to establish the cause of an explosion which ripped through a block of flats in Alloa, leaving 1 man dead and 3 other people injured and needing hospital treatment.
It happened at 6 o'clock last night in Kelly Place, near the town centre. Well, our senior reporter Gordon Cree has spent the day at the scene. Gordon, a real sense of shock there.
Absolutely, Kellyanne. Something like this can, of course, happen anywhere. But when it happens in a relatively small town, by its very nature, it touches people more closely. Next to us here is one of the main roads through Alloa. People living in this area will have passed this property many times. Just 24 hours ago, they'd have been settling in for their Sunday evening. Just across the road, there's a restaurant where people had gathered for meals, and for all of them, their peace was about to be shattered in the most dramatic and tragic way. It happened in a split second. Captured on CCTV, the power of this blast is obvious.
Oh my God.
In the light of day, the full extent of the damage became clear as neighbours recalled their experience.
I was just sitting watching TV and I heard this almighty bang. I thought, oh my God. Even I felt my doors shake, and I ran into the dining room part, looked out and I seen this, the house, the flames. The place just was up like a inferno, if that's the right word to say.
We just heard a massive bang, an explosion. My initial thoughts were someone had crashed into the side of our building. So my first response was running out and see what happened, as well as another gentleman that was dining with us. He ran out as well, and then we looked about, there was nothing there, but then we seen the big smoke and the massive noise and stuff. So we went over there first, and we probably shouldn't have got as close as we did, but we started chapping the neighbours' doors, getting everybody wanted and stuff, making sure we were safe.
And then came confirmation a man who was in the property had died, while 3 others, men aged 19 and 72 and a woman of 49, were injured and needed hospital treatment. Throughout today, some pretty intensive work has been taking place here. Firstly, to ensure things are safe for the rest of the street, and then to begin piecing together exactly what happened here. What went so disastrously wrong as to cause such devastation? And as investigators surveyed the scene, the area's politicians spoke of the importance of getting answers.
I'm sure the police, when they get to the bottom of this, as with the fire authorities, and the two will work together, of course, will want to make this public, and who knows what other inquiries will be made after they've discovered what they believe to be the cause of it as well. It's very important in an event like this where somebody loses their lives that we do get to the bottom of it and learn the lessons from it as well.
I think understandably people will be a bit worried about what's happened here, people who live in the nearby properties, and I think it's really important that we allow the investigation to take place so that we do know the answers, and if there are any lessons to be learned, they can be.
The man who died has yet to be formally identified. Police said tonight their thoughts are with his family, a sentiment shared across the local community.
And what can we expect to happen next, Gordon?
Well, as we speak tonight, there is still no confirmation about what caused this explosion, but the presence of gas engineers here throughout the day would suggest that the possibility of it being a gas explosion is the main line of inquiry. And something that will be very important for them to establish, and we know this from previous such incidents, is whether the fault lay inside the property itself, maybe with an appliance, or whether it was outside with the supply to the building. If it was that, clearly that raises much more wide concerns. So that investigation will be an important one, and that is continuing. The other thing we don't know, of course, is who the man who died was. I expect when that's confirmed, we will get some tributes to him. But tonight, with rain starting to fall and dusk setting in, the work at the scene here goes on.
All right, Gordon, with the very latest on that investigation in Alo, thank you. Now, more than 1 million people in Scotland are still living in poverty. A damning State of the Nation report says very little progress is being made in tackling a main priority for both the Scottish and UK governments. The Joseph Rowntree Foundation claims the nature of poverty is deepening due to a failing social security system.
Of the 1.1 million people living in poverty, a quarter of children live in poorer households. More than half the children living in poverty are from ethnic minority families. 3 in 10 are from a single parent family. If someone in the house has a disability, children are 3 times more likely to go without. Our chief reporter Sharon Frew has been finding out about the difficult choices some families are having to make.
Am I going to manage to afford to keep the heating on? Am I going to be able to keep my lighting on? Or am I going to have to decide what has to give up? It's a struggle.
Natalie knows she is not alone, and many others share this constant anxiety. Through her volunteering, the mother of 2 helps families finding it tough to buy key essentials like school clothing and a warm coat.
That's why I wanted to give back. I think as much as I can't physically go out and work and be able to provide it, at least this is me giving back to the situation I'm in.
Today's report highlights the greater financial pressures on those living with a disability and reliant on social security. Natalie has a daughter with autism and a son with complex needs. She's also losing her sight.
Keeping the lights on is a big thing for me. Not having the light on it wouldn't be an option because I could fall. I've always been told I may not see at all at one day, but it's being able to make sure my kids are going to be okay. They give you all these helps, but these helps aren't helping you with the bills. At the end of the day, in order for me to afford my gas and electricity, I'm using the money that should be used on my children to get them the sensory toys, to get them the things they need. Instead of that, I'm getting people giving me stuff to give to my children. Here we've got children's jackets, adults' jackets, school blazers.
This small community group also relies on generosity, and it's fast running out of space for its donations. Referrals trebled in the last year, with a surge in requests from those on universal credit and working families.
The position that people are in is they feel like there's no way out. So if you're part of a working family, you're drumming that ethic in to your children that it's important to work, it's important to have an income, but they're not seeing the benefit of that. And so that whole ethos has fallen away, and right now it just doesn't pay most people to work, but at the same time you don't want to be claiming benefits.
The Joseph Rowntree Foundation warns the nature of poverty is deepening.
If we're a compassionate society, we need to put our money where our mouth is, invest in the social security system, which can give those families stability and security. And then, yes, if they are able to work, that's a much better platform to seek work on than struggling to keep the lights on.
At an event earlier, the Scottish Secretary described the charity's report as a sobering starting point. The UK government, just 3 weeks away from its first budget, has set up a new task force to tackle child poverty. The Scottish Government insists it's doing everything within its powers.
The JRF are quite right to say that there is more to do. That's exactly why the Scottish Government is spending around £3 billion a year supporting people in low income, trying to tackle that cost of living crisis. And I hope that I can work for the first time with a UK government that actually has that endeavour of reducing poverty as well.
Those facing a challenging winter say they need more than warm words. They believe the system needs a complete overhaul. Sharon Frew, STV News, Airdrie.
It's 1 year since a massacre at a music festival in Israel led to the deaths of 1,200 people and the kidnapping of 200. The attack by Hamas sparked intense fighting between Israel and Palestine. In Gaza, tens of thousands of people have been killed and displaced.
Jewish and Muslim communities across Scotland have been marking the anniversary while calling for peace and the release of those who are still being held hostage. Escalating tensions have seen fighting spread across the Middle East. Vanessa Taft reports.
The faces of those held hostage by Hamas line the walls of this synagogue. It's been a difficult 365 days for Scotland's Jewish community.
People are worried and despondent and concerned about family and friends, and the news is not getting better. Just worry about the escalation and what that means for people living in Israel and what that means for people living in the diaspora.
Gathered at the site of a music festival in Israel, family and friends of the 1,200 people that were killed. The attack ignited a conflict that's now spreading in the Middle East. Vigils took place over the weekend to mark the massacre, with more planned for this evening.
It feels like you're kind of frozen in time, that it's October 7th, 2024, and we feel like we're still on October 7th, 2023. And it's kind of impossible to explain the grief because I don't think we've all yet had the opportunity to process.
Lots of the members of the Jewish community at Edinburgh have experienced an increase in anti-Semitism. My flatmate, he was wearing a Star of David in the pub, and someone came over to him and said, "Oh, you're wearing a Star of David, you Jew, you must be a Tottenham fan," and then said, "I love Hamas," which is obviously quite shocking, and he was a bit lost for words.
They talk a lot about what's happened in this community. The devastation in Gaza and the people displaced there because of the retaliation of that October 7th attack has taken a huge emotional toll.
It's been a pretty bloody year. I don't think anybody thought a year on would still be here and this would still be going on. Difficult to live a normal life when you're exposed on social media to some of the pictures and the videos and the horrors we've been seeing. So, we're looking for this reset button where everything goes back to normal, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. So we're having to learn to live with this sort of new normal.
There's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, which is keenly felt by those here.
They're human lives. These were people that were once here, living and breathing, children, young, old. They're no longer here. And for me, everything boils down to that. We can talk about things and talk about the politics of everything, but what we're missing here, the bigger picture, it's the people that we've lost, the people that are no longer here now.
In Westminster today, renewed calls for peace.
The ultimate goal here is well understood. It must be the two-state solution. There is no other option.
After his in-laws were trapped in Gaza last year, a former First Minister is critical of the political response.
What I ultimately feel is the last 365 days have been a complete abject failure from the international community to ensure a ceasefire and to ensure that the violence ends.
But that ending seems a long way off. Vanessa Taft, STV News.
A mother has said there is never a day she doesn't think of her young son as a fatal accident inquiry begins into the death of Archie Donald. The 3-year-old died at the Royal Hospital for Children in Glasgow in 2019 after suffering from an infection.
The inquiry will consider what role the infection treatment as well as delays to his care played in his death. Vidushi Tavari reports.
Archie Donald was 3 years old when he died at the Royal Hospital for Children in Glasgow in November of 2019. He suffered from congenital nephrotic syndrome, a kidney disease which can be fatal without proper treatment. Day one of the fatal accident inquiry into his death heard from Dr. Heather Maxwell, a consultant paediatric nephrologist. She described his treatment plan, which included frequent blood tests for a protein that indicates infection. Dr. Maxwell admitted to overlooking a key result in the weeks before his death, which could have indicated that he had contracted an infection. This, combined with renal failure due to his kidney disease, was outlined as the cause of death in a post-mortem report. The inquiry is expected to continue all week and will look at various factors that could have contributed to young Archie's death. The inquiry continues tomorrow. Vidushi Tiwari, STV News at Glasgow Sheriff Court.
Demolition is continuing at the C-listed ABC building on Sauchiehall Street. It was served with a demolition notice by the council on public safety grounds after its owners claimed it could not be saved. The former nightclub, gig venue and cinema was severely damaged in the Glasgow Art School fire in 2018. Developers want to build a food market and student flats on the site. A 55-year-old man has been arrested and charged nearly 5 months after the death of an elderly pedestrian in East Renfrewshire. The 86-year-old man suffered serious injuries in May when he was struck by a car near Clarkson Toll roundabout and later died in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Scotland's first underwater sniffer dog, who spent 11 years helping to find bodies in the River Clyde and across Britain, has received an OBE following his death for his outstanding assistance in police searches. The handler and owner of the Springer Spaniel says the dog has left behind a lasting legacy. Now the people of Glasgow are calling for a statue to remember him. Raheem Cham reports.
This was Bara in action. Sharp, agile and heroic. He died after a short illness in May this year, after creating a legacy as Scotland's first dog able to sniff out bodies underwater. Bara was involved in many high-profile searches, including the disappearance of Alan Bryant in Fife and April Jones in Wales in 2012. He was trained by his owner and voluntary Coast Guard Ian Marshall, who says for years he received calls from police and Coast Guards all over the country, requesting Bara's help to search for missing people.
Bara was my best friend. We started this and we come up with this idea. I just thought if we could just help one family, let one family see that there's actually somebody's out there and trying to help them, that was the thing, you know. So it was never about medals or anything like that.
Bara was recently awarded PDSA Order of Merit, which is equivalent to an OBE for animals. Campaigners are now calling for a statue of the Springer Spaniel to commemorate his legacy.
You know, as I say, it took me by surprise because, you know, the nature of the work that we'd done, we'd always keep underneath the radar. But it just sort of grew arms and legs with the Facebook campaigns, and they're talking about a mural and they were talking about a statue up in Glasgow as well. It's nice to see Bara being recognised for his effort in search and recovery for all these years because he put so much work, so much focus into it.
This is Ereski, Bara's only surviving sibling. She's 13 years old and currently retired. Since Bara passed in May, she's the spirit that keeps the family together.
Ian's inspiring journey with Bara has led his daughter, Savannah, to pursue the same career as her dad.
See, because I know that I've got my dad's support, I think that I'll be able to fly through it with flying colours. He'll help me with all of the training, he'll help me with any funds that I need to have, and just from watching him doing all of this as a young girl, I think I'll do well with it.
To the world, Bara was a rescue dog, but to Ian, he was his best friend. Raheem Cham, STV News, Glasgow.
Rahman is here with the sports, and plenty been happening in the Premiership, Rahman.
Love a bit of drama, John, yeah. Plenty happening in the top flight at the weekend. We had red cards, VAR, a retaken penalty and late goals, and that's where we kick off our sport tonight.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Autumn Sale.
Good evening. Match winner Nicholas Kuhn says Celtic displayed great character to come from behind to defeat Ross County, adding the team didn't show their real face against Borussia Dortmund last week. Meanwhile, Philippe Clement says Yanis Hadji's red card in his comeback match was clumsy rather than malicious as Rangers defeated St Johnstone, while Hearts, who lost to Aberdeen, are stepping up their search for a new head coach. Jimmy Borthwick has more.
They had to work for it, but Celtic got the bounce-back victory they craved following that morale-sapping Champions League defeat in Germany.
Yeah, I think that was not our real face. It was last year finalists of Champions League, and if you're not 100% there, they're going to use the chances. And yeah, just happy that we got the 3 points at the end, because I think it was really important to go into the international break with the win.
Ronan Hale had put Ross County ahead in the first half, and the Dingwall men still led with 15 minutes to play. Alistair Johnston's equaliser set up Kuhn to supply the grandstand finale.
I've got absolutely 100% confidence in the resilience of this team. And resilience, whatever way you dress it up, that's all about grit and determination and fight. And we have that in bucket loads.
He was the sinner with an awful miss on Thursday night, but Václav Černý found redemption as his brace eased Rangers to victory over St Johnstone. But another comeback tale ended with an unhappy ending. Yanis Hadji making his first appearance in over a year after settling a contractual dispute, dismissed for this dangerous challenge on Adama Sidibe. Meanwhile, after an epic at Pittodrie saw Aberdeen come from behind to defeat Hearts 3-2, interim boss Liam Fox is preparing to hand over the reins to the next permanent head coach.
We've obviously got the international break now, which probably allow the club a wee bit of time to go through the process, which I'm sure they're already going through. Like I say, it's been a privilege and an honour for me to do this role, and even in the short term, I'm just disappointed that we didn't take something from today.
Hearts have held interviews with candidates as they narrow down their shortlist. Blair Spittle is one hoping to catch the new boss's eye after netting his first goal for the club.
It felt good the last couple of games playing in there and what Foxy's asked of me. So last couple of weeks have been really enjoyable working with him. So we'll see what happens over the break. I think everyone knows that there's probably going to be a new manager in. So it's important that in this situation you give food for thought, whoever it's going to be.
Jamie Borthwick, STV Sport.
Motherwell boss Stuart Kettlewell was proud of his players after securing their 5th victory in the last 6 games, defeating Hibs 2-1. But as warned, they haven't won anything yet. After Nectarius Triantis was sent off for the hosts following a second yellow card, Andy Halliday scored the winner in the 80th minute. They remain 4th in the Premiership. David Gray lamented his team's defending. Kilmarnock boss Derek McInnes wants their stunning comeback against 10-man Dundee to be a reference point. Killie were 2-0 down with just 4 minutes remaining. But a Bruce Anderson header and a double from Matty Kennedy secured their first league win of the season. And St Mirren remained 6th after their 1-0 defeat to Dundee United. Now, we deserve to be excited. The words of Celtic women's captain Kelly Clark as they prepare for their first ever match in the Champions League. Elena Sidiku's side hosts Dutch club FC Twente at Hamilton's new Douglas Park tomorrow night. Chelsea and Real Madrid are also in Celtic's group.
It's an emotion that we almost need to embrace, but Park, we've got a training session to go and do today that we need to have our full focus, and then I just really want everybody to enjoy it, so I'm going to let myself be excited. I quite often try and not let my emotions show, but I think we deserve to be excited for tomorrow, and I genuinely just can't wait to waking up on it to be game day.
There's a reason why we're here, and that's because we're a great football team. And that confidence needs to show tomorrow as well. Like, it doesn't matter if we play Twente or Chelsea or Real Madrid, they are really good football players. So I think that's something that I can already tell them now.
To rugby, and Jamie Dobie hopes his ability to play 2 positions will enhance his chances of earning more caps for Scotland, and is targeting a place in Gregor Townsend's 6 Nations squad. Dobie, who scored the first of Glasgow Warriors' 8 tries in their 52-36 win over Cardiff on Friday, can play at scrum half and as a winger. He's won 6 caps for Scotland, the latest coming in the summer tour of the Americas.
The goal now is to be involved in some of the biggest fixtures for Scotland, whether that's in this autumn, and obviously the 6 Nations. They're sort of the big fixtures for the national team especially. So it's definitely a massive goal for me to be involved in the squad and be involved on match day. So without looking too far ahead, we've obviously got some important games for Glasgow, but that's obviously in the back of the mind, and I want to put my best foot forward to have that opportunity.
Folks, it's all your sport tonight. See you again tomorrow.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Autumn Sale.
Well, it's been a chilly autumnal day. Let's get the weather forecast now from Sean.
A dry start to the day will become increasingly splashy. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
A very good evening to you. We've got the leftovers of a hurricane crossing the Atlantic the next couple of days, but we don't need to worry about it because it's well to the south of us. Portugal and Spain, that's where the remnants are heading. Very wet and windy weather there over the next couple of days. And then it moves into France. Now, because the leftovers are well to the south of us, it will pull in much colder air later on the week. First proper chill of autumn on the way. And if we have a look at more rural areas, one of our villages, Calder Crooks, well, the temperatures will be down to about 7 or 8 degrees Celsius by day later on the week. And overnight, look at that, a little touch of frost in places. Airdrie just to the west, maybe just a little bit higher. But for all of us, it is going to be turning a lot colder later on in the week. Now, for the time being today, we've seen some quite heavy showers across the southwest, particularly around Glasgow, Renfrewshire, and also across Ayrshire. Those showers drifting northwards through the rest of this evening and overnight. Then it becomes largely dry. Temperatures should hold about 8 or 9 degrees through the night. That's roughly where we're going to be by day towards the end of the week. Now, tomorrow there's going to be some heavy rain developing, especially further south and east. Probably the wettest conditions for us tended to be across the likes of Lanark, Straven, Falkirk, Grangemouth, and also towards Edinburgh. The rain tended to be more showery and lighter, patchier as we head into Argyll and Bute here. Driest and brightest still, 14 degrees Celsius. Later on the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we go into that colder northerly airflow, but there'll be a lot of dry and bright weather around. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, that's all we've got time for, but Colin Mackay will bring you Scotland Tonight at 10:50 just after the late news.
Thank you for watching. Have a good night.
Good night.